Well, hello. They've changed things on StreamYard, guys, since I've been here last. I don't know. Oh, no. Okay. Can you hear me? Is anybody here? I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know what's going on. This is all changed. My StreamYard looks completely different. Can anyone hear me? I might have to start again. I don't know what's going on. Is there anybody here? 7 watching, it says. But I haven't got anyone in chat. Okay. I might have to do some kind of hey, watching. I can't get your chat, guys. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know what's happening. Let's see. Hi. Oh, I can see some here. Hi, guys. Hello. Sorry, this has completely changed since I did the last live. Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me know. Listen, I just wanted to talk about these 911, this 911 call and these text messages. I've been commenting on other people's channels and I thought, you know what, we need to talk about this. It's just, I've just come from Jules, actually. I've come from her live. Lots of interesting stuff, lots of theories. I warn you now, I'm not going to pull up any documents or anything. I have watched and read them and seen them. If you need me to put them up later. Hi Heather, hi Victoria, Delby, hello. Mark and Betty, Mrs. Johnny Nat, Justice, Bunny, Victoria and Angel, it's so good to see you all. Oh, Eddie's here, hello. I will be dropping a link because I really want to talk to someone. So anybody who wants to come up, you are more than welcome. But the first question I put up was, why did Dylan call Eric Gower at 2:10 a.m. when she was already at home, according to her? Yes, it sure is. It sure is weird. I'm just gonna, I don't know why I'm not getting chat on my other, you know where you can kind of pin things? I'm gonna try and go, normally you have to go on to your other YouTube account, your other screen to pin chat, and I'm not, there we go. Sorry, bear with me guys, this is all changed since I've been here last. I see your chat now. Let me just see if I can pin that or show it. Go to jump at your room. It's not letting me do it. Let me just try. Bear with me, guys. I'm sorry about this. This all looks really different. The EG call. Someone said the EG call. Yeah, Mark and Betty said. Let me see if I can do that. No. What if I just click it? Yes. No. Yeah, I think we can see that now. No. Oh, okay. We're going to have to bear with me here. I don't know what's going on. I have highlighted Mark and Betty's comment that EG call is weird. Can you see that? Hey, Vix, it's here. See, it's all showing on my StreamYard, but it's not showing. I tell you what's happening. I think I'm getting a delay where I can see things on my actual YouTube channel. StreamYard is so weird. You have to have your StreamYard tab up and you have to have your YouTube tab up as well. And I'm kind of flicking between them both. So yeah, I just we can't not have a live about this, can we? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, I always, I've been so confused about the roommates. I've given them the benefit of the doubt. I've not given them the benefit of the doubt. And now this has come out. I am more suspicious than ever. And I've got so many theories going around in my head as to what is going on here. And I'm more suspicious, I have to say, than ever. I've been looking at Lana, I've been looking at Jules, and thinking, you know, reading the documents. I deliberately stay away from mainstream media about this stuff because I've never trusted their narrative, and the amount of BS that they came out with about him stalking and IDs and all is, you know, they found IDs and all of this stuff. It's all been made up. It's all been completely made up. So I thought, what better way than to just get on up here and talk about what we think. So the question I put up is, why did Dylan call Eric Gower at 2:10 a.m.? This is a very good point. I'm going to put this up here for now, just because this is really interesting. No, see, it's not letting me do it again. Right, I'm going to go back to StreamYard and try that one. Well, yeah. So, okay, I'm going to talk about this first, Eric Gower. I mean, according to the documents we've seen recently, Dylan states she got home between 1:15 and 1:30, okay? So according to the PTA, Dylan and Bethany claim that everyone was home by 1:45. Am I correct? Please correct me, guys, if anything I'm saying is wrong or if you've heard something different. I'm 99.9999% sure that everyone was home by around 1:45 a.m. And Dylan recently in these documents states she was home between 1:15 and 1:30. All the others are home by now as well. So why is she calling the private driver at 2:10 a.m. to ask if he's driving? Okay, so I want to tell you my theories on this, and there's a couple, okay? So imagine all the housemates are home. We have no idea what went on between the housemates getting home and the time that these murders took place, allegedly, okay? So I think a lot of us have partied in the past, and party people take recreational rugs. I'm going to call them rugs, guys. And I can tell you from my own personal experience that drivers and taxi drivers quite often supply, okay? They quite often, very often supply rugs. And are you driving? Could be, are you delivering? You wouldn't ask a driver, are you delivering? Basically, if you're asking a driver who normally supplies if they are available to deliver things, you are going to use code, okay, that law enforcement would not suspect. And what would you message a driver? Are you driving? Could be code for, are you available to deliver rugs? Now, this to me is absolutely, completely plausible. I have been there myself. I have had exes who have managed to score off pretty much every taxi driver in my local environment. So I would not be surprised if that is what Dylan was asking. It's a possibility, okay, which would explain a car coming back to the area later on. Now, like Heather says here, and I've seen some other people saying, did he also deliver DoorDash? Could that be a possibility? The other possibility, to me is, how do we know for sure that Dylan was home when she said she was? What if she was somewhere else? And I think I saw Batshit Crazy on Jules's live, and she said, what if Dylan wasn't at home? I wanted to know if Kaylee and Maddie were back. I think some real. I can't think. The only other possibility is Dylan is planning to leave. So these, to me, are the only possibilities. We've got Dylan asking Eric Gower at 2:10 a.m., 25 minutes after everyone's home, are you driving? It's either code for something, whether that's rugs or something else, or she's not actually at the house and is wondering if Kaylee and Maddie have been dropped off at home. Or, hi, Silver Cent, or can anyone else give another reason? But whichever scenario I can think of, it's sus. It's sus. I don't know, up until now, between 1:45 and say 4 a.m., the key, oh God, that's another thing I'm going to bring up, the 4 a.m. thing. Between 1:45 a.m. and 4 a.m., we knew nothing. We knew absolutely nothing other than phone calls to Jack D. And now we know Dylan messaged Eric Gower. In my opinion, nobody went to sleep. I don't believe anyone was sleeping. I don't think anyone went to sleep between 1:45 and 4 a.m. I don't know what you guys think. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Yeah, Eddie, we don't know anything for sure. And the worst thing is, since all this new stuff has come out, Dylan's story has changed how many times under the guise of she has lucid dreaming. Let me tell you this. I have had lucid dreams in my life. Thank God, I'm touching wood. They've stopped for now. For a long time in my life, around Dylan's age, I used to have lucid dreams. And the minute you wake up that you have had a lucid dream. You don't see faces, and if you Google it, it's a very common phenomenon. At the time, I thought I was completely unique. I thought there was some weird entity in my room. And actually, I did a video on this on Spooky Sunday, maybe a year and a half ago, about lucid dreaming. Everyone describes similar things. And it's always a male form in your room, but there's no detail, there's no face. They're always coming through the door, or they're coming up the bed, or they're in the corner of your room, and you cannot move. You certainly cannot text anyone when you're lucid dreaming. So bear with me, guys. My little dog is freaking out here. 1 second. I'm going to come back to you. Bring up your thoughts, and I'm going to drop the link in a minute. So if anyone wants to come up and talk about all this stuff, I would love it. So bear with me. Okay, sorry guys, I'm back. So I'm going to see if I can remember how to drop the link. Bear with me. Oh, God. This is not looking the same at all since I last did a live. Community, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. StreamYard. Oh. Does anyone know who's here how I drop the link? Because you used to have to go to your YouTube page and drop the link, but I can't see how you do that. Live chat, join the conversation. If anyone knows, that would be awesome. No, I can't see it. I used to be able to click on that and I'd have share the link. It's not happening. Oh, I would love someone to come up and chat with me. No, not happening. Let me check out private chat. No. Let's see. No, I can't see at all where the link is. So if anybody knows, please tell me. Does anyone know? No clue. I know. Never mind. I might just have to chat on my own. I'll keep chatting. So this is what I was thinking about Eric Gower. I wanted to start there anyway. So guys, why do you think Dylan, let's have a look, see what these guys say. DM was waiting for her lucid dream to arrive, hence the statement, his forehead, nose and mouth was covered like an E.G. came back after they got their high on. Yeah. I think it's very convenient that Dylan was allegedly lucid dreaming. I mean, what, to the point she saw a guy in a mask with a vacuum? With a vacuum. I mean, that is the strangest thing I ever heard. I'll tell you what really freaked me out was these drawings. I mean, they were her own drawings on her wall that had focuses on eyes and bushy eyebrows. I mean, guys, what are the chances? You know what came to mind for me was Kaiser Soze and The Usual Suspects. Straight away. I'm not a weirdo conspiracy theorist. I just thought she described someone with bushy eyebrows, and her walls are covered in her own drawings of eyes and bushy eyebrows. It reminded me of The Usual Suspects. I just thought, really? And exactly so the set these texts, they had to forensically download them. So surely then they're deleted. And I'm convinced there are texts missing. There are texts missing from what we see, what we've been given. Yeah, I don't see that they make sense unless they've got chunks missing. Really weird. Yeah, I'm more suspicious of the roommates now than I've ever been before. So this is, all of this is going around in my head. And I'm thinking, okay, so Dylan states that, first of all, according to the PCA, she sees this masked intruder just before he exits, just before the car goes screeching off at 4:20 something. In the latest documents, we see that Dylan said she sees the intruder around 4 a.m., just after 4 a.m. It's that 4 a.m. again. So how does she hasn't got a clue what time it is, does she? I mean, originally at 4 a.m., she wakes up to the sounds of Kaylee playing with Murphy. Now, we read that at around 4 a.m., she sees the intruder. At 4 a.m., the DoorDash arrives. And when they make the 911 call, They really want to get across, not, oh, there's someone here. It's not like, oh my God, please come and help. Our roommate is not breathing, or there's something really wrong with her. Can we please tell you our story at 4 a.m.? And it's the 911 dispatch caller who's like, whoa, hang on a minute here. Is there someone unconscious? And they're like, well, no, hang on. We want to tell you our story. How is this? I really think you've got to be really on a different planet if you do not find this really suspicious. 4 a.m. is cropping up way too much. We've got 4 a.m. Kaylee's playing with a dog. All the roommates are in their rooms around 4 a.m. Dylan says she woke up around 4 a.m. So how would she know that the roommates were in their rooms around 4 a.m. if she woke up at 4 a.m.? But she woke up to the sounds of playing with her dog, Kaylee playing with her dog at around 4 a.m. Then recently we hear that she sees the intruder at around 4 a.m. The DoorDash arrives at around 4 a.m. And when they call 911, they're desperate to say, no, forget about the person lying unconscious, not breathing. We'd like to say at 4 a.m. something happened. Oh my God. I mean, I swear to God, if we've said it a million times, if Dylan and Bethany were men and males, they'd be the ones sitting in jail right now awaiting trial. I swear. So 4 a.m., in my opinion, this is my opinion only, they are desperate to push that as a timeline narrative. What do you guys think? Hey, Lisa, nice to see you. Now this, Mark and Betty, this was interesting. Xana was all in black. Absolutely. But this, to me, proves there were texts missing. I think this is pure speculation, and I've pinched it from someone else in another chat. I believe that Dylan said she saw someone in black. And I think that perhaps Bethany said, well, Xana was all in black. And that's when Dylan said, no, this was like a ski mask. For me, that text was text missing. And that would make sense to me. That really would make sense to me. Yeah, exactly. She did have all black on. So I think Bethany perhaps was trying to make sense of what was going on with the black outfit. You know, maybe you saw Xana, she was all in black, and that's when Dylan says, no, ski mask type thing, covering forehead and mouth, whatever. So, yeah, so we've got Dylan. What we get in the text, right? We don't get any sounds from Dylan. She doesn't say anything like, I've heard this, I've heard that. Bethany doesn't say, I've heard this, I've heard that. All we hear from Dylan in those texts is that she's seen someone in black wearing a ski mask. In the PCA, though, remember, she says that she heard crying and it's okay, I'm going to help you. Not mentioned in the text. Not the ones we've been shown, anyway. She doesn't mention that in the text. So she's obviously heard sounds. So we can ascertain, if it's the truth, that she's heard what she thinks is Kaylee playing with a dog, and she has heard someone crying, and there's someone here, and it's okay, I'm going to help you. She sees an intruder. And then we have Bethany. Okay, so we know where the intruder was, where she, so if you're looking out of Dylan's door, he was kind of to the right-hand side, originally walking past her towards the slider. Okay. But in the latest documents we've seen, she's not sure that he exited via the slider at all. So she also says that the stairway is dark. Not sure if the light's on in the kitchen. Not sure. She thinks there might have been the fairy lights on in the lounge. The stairway was in darkness. So now you've got Bethany saying, run. After they both say they're freaking out and, what the actual fuck, and oh my God, shut the fuck up. You've seen a ski mask? Run. Bethany's words, run. To my room, down here. So what? Dylan then decides, she's not sure where this perp, this intruder has exited, if he's exited. She then runs in the direction, if we are to believe she ran, in the direction of where she saw the intruder, to the dark stairway. Who in their right minds, guys, and I would love to hear your response to this, who in their right minds would think, okay, yeah, I'm going to run towards where I saw the intruder down to your room, and then we're just going to stay in the house all night and not call anyone, even though we're freaking out. I've seen an intruder with a ski mask and nobody's answering their phones. Let's just sit in your bedroom, Bethany. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And rightly so. Frozen shock, frozen in fear. There's none of that here. Absolutely none. And bear in mind, Dylan's right next to the slider. Wouldn't you peg it out of there? The other interesting part of that for me is that Bethany, she seemed, I don't know, the way they're texting. I don't know. It's all very odd. And Bethany is telling Dylan to come down to her room. So she feels, obviously, in my opinion, that her floor is safe. Her room and her floor is safe. We've got to put ourselves in, let's say these girls are telling the truth and you're freaking out and there's something horrible going on and you've heard someone crying, there's someone here to help, you've got a masked intruder. Who in their right mind leaves their bedroom to run towards the intruder, down the stairs in the dark, very drunk and out of it, remember, into your mate's bedroom without leaving the property? And then you what? Just stay there till the next morning? Now, we've got Dylan right next to the slider and we've got Bethany right next to the front door. They're freaking out. Bethany's telling her to run. Not once do we see in those texts either of them say, should we call 911? It's not even a question. Nobody even asks the question. Now, if I were either Bethany or Dylan, my text would say, if I were Bethany, I'd say, Dylan, peg it out the slider. I'm going to peg it out the front door. Let's get out of here. Not, come on down to my room. At least you won't be alone down here. She may as well have said, it's safe down here, girl. Come on down. So wouldn't you? You'd be, I'm right by this door. You're right by that door. Let's get out of here. Now, I also thought, we don't know that they stayed in that room all night. We remember that neighbour very early on who said they'd seen the front door wide open really early in the morning. They were walking their dog. So I then thought, what if Dylan pegged it downstairs and they all bolted out of the front door? I thought that would make complete and utter sense to me. So why wouldn't they be honest about that if they did that? I mean, there's no shame in that you're that scared you pegged it out the house. And you might say, okay, maybe they didn't say they pegged it out the house because it shows how scared they were and they didn't call 911. But having seen these texts, it's like, well, you were that scared anyway that you've told Dylan to run and you're freaking out. So it doesn't matter if you stayed in the bedroom or ran out the house. Either way, you should have called 911. So if they did peg it out of that front door, why not say, you know what, we just ran out of there because we didn't really know what was going on. That's as grim as saying, you know what, we didn't know what was going on and we just stayed in the bedroom all night. So that's another mystery. And that is a great question mark. Who's Evan? Yeah, I've never heard of Evan. I thought it was Ethan originally, but it seemed to be, if I remember correctly, it's on the 911 call. It seemed like someone called Evan was involved in the 911 call. Am I right in that? Yeah, if anyone has any light on who Evan is. There's another one, Heather. Did DM use the stairs in the house to get to BF room? Well, you know what? She could have, couldn't she, have gone out the slider, around the front and in through the front door. Yeah, she could have done that. I mean, that's plausible. I just cannot get my head around the fact that you're freaking out. Who thinks she said scared and who thinks she said screwed? Did DM say scared or screwed? I think she said screwed. I really think she said screwed. It could have been scared. Of course it could. But there's an SCR. I think it's screwed. Yeah, I do. And I wonder what she meant by that. I'm screwed as in I'm screwed if I run down to you. I'm screwed because my phone is dying. I'm screwed because I'm out of it and drunk. If you Google screwed, which I did, I know what screwed means, but when you think, am I missing some like street slang here? So I Googled screwed, and it means either I'm doomed, I've got no hope, or it means I'm completely messed up. And for Bethany to say, well, it's better than being alone, even if she said I'm scared, that doesn't flow. I'm scared, well, it's better than being alone. Yeah, maybe. I think it was screwed. It was the capital R for me. The capital R said screwed to me. Yeah, hi CH, yeah. I'm screwed that my phone is dying and messed up. So her phone, right. So this is another thing. Her phone is dying and she's screwed. And she's freaking out and she's seen an intruder. Most of us, I feel, would text our friend downstairs, call 911. If your phone's dying, you're scared, you're screwed, you're freaking out, and your phone's dying, call 911. Not, I'm going to text my friend, I'm screwed. Just crazy. Absolutely crazy. So what's this? Right, okay. Eddie, what's this? It's hard to say. Honestly, I'm still thinking about Brian dropping the defibrillator at 9 a.m. Oh, what's this? I've missed this in chat somewhere. This could be interesting. I've missed that. I really want someone to come up here and chat with me. I can't see. What's that, Eddie? I've seen it. Brian only came back at 9 to drop off that defibrillator. You reckon? So please tell me the story behind that. What's the thinking behind that? How would he know to drop off a defibrillator? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Right, guys. What's this? What's this? I don't know anything about this, Heather. You ran for back in. I don't know anything about this. This is really interesting. Oh, is she joking? Am I taking this too seriously? Honestly, there's so much going on in this case. I don't know what's the truth and what isn't. Right, I'm going to try and drop this link again. Bear with me. I don't. Right, let me try this. I'm going to try this now, guys. I'd love someone to come up and chat to me. This used to. I knew what I was doing before, and I knew exactly how to get the link up, and I think it's all changed because it's just not coming up. Hang on, bear with. Right, so I'm going on this. That's off. Okay, I'm going to end the Q&A and see if that changes things. Participants. Okay. No. Oh, help me, someone. How do I? This is really weird. How do I invite people on to chat with me? Where this always used to be in top chat, live chat. Hang on. Timestamps. Okay. I don't want timestamp. This has changed so much since I came on here before. Oh, I wish I knew how to drop the link. This is really upsetting me. Settings. Nope, nope, and nope. Absolutely can't find how to drop the link. Oh, I love that. Oh, do you know what? With his vacuuming at all times in the morning, and she happens to see someone with a vacuum. But seriously, oh, Heather, stop doing that to me. I'm gullible. I actually looked up gullible in the dictionary once because someone said it didn't exist, the word. I felt like a right idiot. Right, comments, banners, media assets, everything has changed. I don't know how to get anyone up here. This is so upsetting. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. Nobody going up and down the stairs. I mean, this is what I get from what we've learned of Dylan in the last couple of weeks, is that her stories not only have completely changed over and over again, but they're crazy as well. They're completely crazy. But I can't help thinking that she's doing it deliberately. Completely deliberately. I think she wants to throw everyone off the scent. It's like she's trying to create chaos so that her statements aren't viable. Hi, Willie. Willie, you might be able to help me. I can't find a way to drop the link. It used to be really easy and I can't find it anywhere. It's really, really, really weird. I don't understand. Can anyone help? Can you help, Willie? I haven't done this. Right, I'm going to try this. Hang on, I've got something else here. Can I do it here? Ah, so upsetting. Let me see, report. No, I don't want to report myself. Participants, moderation activity, pop out chat, and send feedback. I can't find at all where the link is. It doesn't give me the option to drop the link. I wonder. No, that's just going to give you to find the, enter your broadcast. invite. It used to be. Ah, okay. I think I have it. Thank you so much, CH. And now I'm going to try this now. I think I've got it. Oh, thank you so much. I think maybe it hasn't changed. I've just forgotten how to do it. Right, hang on. Let me see. Right, guys. And then I'm going to pin it, okay? So if anybody would like to come up, I would love to chat to you guys about your theories. Somebody come up and chat with me. Guys, I saw Dinky very, very briefly at the end of Jules's live earlier, and it was literally as it was ending, and he said he'd been listening, and I said Dinky, and then it all cut off. So I hope he's okay. He did a community post that said he'd be back soon. So yeah, I hope Dinky's back soon, and all our love to him and our deepest sympathies. A horrible, horrible time for Dinky. All our love to you, Dinky. So there we go. Who's coming up here with me? Let's see if anyone's waiting. Thank you so much, CH, for that. Thank you, thank you. Now I've got to try and work out. God, it's been so long since I've done this. So yeah, the link is pinned. Someone want to come up and talk about their theories about all of this? Anyone coming up? Oh, come on up, Eddie. I would love that. Tell me when you're behind the scenes, because take care, Silver Sand. Thank you so much for coming along. Sorry this is a bit bitty. But I'm getting used to this again. I'm going to be back a lot more. I've made a few changes in my life to make more time for me and things I actually want to do. Yeah, so tell me, Eddie, when you're behind the scenes, because what's this? There we go. Yeah, I can't see you backstage at the minute. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Yeah, very good point, Lisa, about no mention of the victims going up and down the stairs, but that's just another one of her stories. The interesting thing about what she said, or what Anne said that Dylan said about Kaylee going up and down the stairs, was that she was already downstairs and Dylan thought she ran up, said there's someone here, ran upstairs and came back down again. It wasn't the other way. No mention of her going back up again. So it's almost like she ran upstairs and down again, but we don't know what happened to Kaylee. Well, we know what happened to Kaylee after that, but we don't know what happened between her going back up again. Yeah, it's all really, really strange. I mean, how many times can Dylan change her story? Right, Eddie. Oh, Eddie. Hello.
It's good to see you again.
Oh, I'm going to give you a chance to speak this time. I'm so sorry about last time. I just talked over the top of you the whole time. So go ahead, Eddie. Please tell me your thoughts. I am so happy to listen to them, as always.
How can everyone hear me?
We can. I can.
Well, here's my thoughts about the 911 call and the text.
Okay.
I try to not analyze them too deeply because we're being lied to. So to spend a whole lot of time and waste energy trying to hyperanalyze how it could be and why it doesn't make sense is kind of a futile effort. They're using the text and the 911 call just to establish like their level of surprise, me paraphrasing, however they worded it in the document. But it's not for anything beyond just to try to push the narrative that the two surviving roommates are credible and being honest, which they're not.
I'm puzzled by that, Eddie, because if they want to push the narrative that they're credible, I think they've done the opposite.
We have to keep in mind that so Dylan has inconsistent statements, right? She's claiming she's drunk and she's not sure what she heard or saw, that she's claiming to have memory problems. She doesn't know if it was real in her mind or if it was her mind playing tricks on her, if she dreamt it or not. She's got every excuse in the book. And you know darn well, and when I say you, I mean you plural, everybody listening, I always do. But you know darn well that if you and I were detectives, we'd be able to see right through that. So we know it's nonsense. You know, a good guiding principle is if it doesn't make sense, it isn't true.
Yeah.
And we don't have to overcomplicate it. It's just that simple. Now, also, we learned during the hearing that not only are detectives going with what she said, but they're adding to it and embellishing it even more so. So it makes us ask the question, who is it that we're not trusting? A lot of people's reaction to this and their takeaway is that, oh, I'm even more suspicious of Dylan, or DM rather, and BF after reading these texts. But in your mind, take your analysis to the next level. What is the next question then is, why are detectives buying into it?
Mm-hmm.
So those are my initial thoughts, and they've always been consistent. Even before we've had all this latest information, that's pretty much been a consistent theme from the beginning with what little we even had back then.
You see, I agree with you, Eddie. I think that from the get-go, I wouldn't trust those roommates. I mean, sorry, I muted you. How did they clear them so fast based on what we know?
They cleared them so fast because the only way they can do that, and kind of taking a left turn here briefly, but clump this other thought into that same line of questioning is the DNA that, you know, the blood DNA from unknown male B on the handrail.
Yeah.
And also blood from the glove from unknown male D. They didn't test it, and they've not only didn't they test it, but it no longer exists. It's assuredly disappeared forever. So those two things put together, they can only do that if they already know who really did the crime, and they don't want whoever did the crime to be discovered. By the way, how can you hear me now? Does it sound better?
I think it was Willie who couldn't hear you.
Okay.
I turned your mic up a bit. Mark and Betty said they can hear you okay, and I can hear you okay, and I have turned the mic up. So
I'm on an iPhone, so I don't think I have any adjustments to be made as far as turning anything up or down.
Okay, I managed to do it my end. I managed to edit the mic setting and turn you up a bit. So hopefully Willie can hear you now.
I'll maybe try to talk closer to the phone, and
yeah,
if that seems to help, give me feedback if this is helping.
No, that's cool. We can hear you.
Okay. Now, if I'm too close to the mic, let me know that too, because I've noticed in some live streams where some people can be so loud or close to the mic, or I don't know how to describe it, but it almost makes me jump or feel compelled to turn my volume down. So if I'm doing that, let me know, because I don't want to do that.
Don't you worry. Everyone's saying it's fine. So
okay.
You can. Yeah,
I'll just try to be consistent with the distance from the mouth microphone.
You sound great to me, Eddie. You sound great.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I don't think we need to be suspicious of the roommates. Now, did they have a part to play in this? Who knows? But if they did, you got to ask yourself and be real about what part do you think they played in it? I mean, do you think they're the mastermind and they caused this all to be? Do you think that they were the ones that wielded the knife and took someone's life? At the most, they were the means of entry. Maybe they, because, in true crime, we always have seen cases where, if you have a mean male type of figure, some brute, and I don't know, we'll just name him Bluto, whatever, and he has it in for another male, we'll just call him Popeye. What the heck? Popeye is not going to fall into Bluto's trap. So you have to have a female to entrap, right? And lure. And females are great at playing that part. So at the worst, DM and BF may have done that. But then again, go deeper into the thought process is who compelled them to do that. And at the end of the day, I'll try not to use that phrasing. That's one of the state's litigators' go-to phrases. So if they did that, if they were like the person that opened the door to the house to allow the bad people in, who do you want to end up with? If you were the detective, the investigators, do you want to end up with that person ultimately as who you're prosecuting for this crime? Or do you want the people at the top that bullied or coerced those females, into playing their part?
Okay, I've got another theory to add to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it involves the Eric Gower. I always call him Grower.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Gower text, which I mentioned earlier. Okay, I truly believe. I'm not saying Maddie and Kaylee were into it. I believe Zana was, from video footage I've seen of her. That is just my opinion. I think there were people in the house who were into recreational drugs. We know it was a party house. I think there's a strong chance that everyone was home by 1:45, and at 2:10 a.m. Dylan is, I can't remember if she was calling or texting Eric Gower, "Are you driving?" I think there's a strong possibility that was about a drug delivery. Okay. I have been in that environment myself many, many times, from living in Antigua, from having an ex who it was just doobies for him. He could score off any taxi driver in my local town.
Did you say Antigua?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Very, very corrupt. Very interesting. I'm going to call them rugs everywhere. The people who had families running local restaurants were partaking. I mean, it was just an absolute eye-opener living on that island. And if the boats didn't come in, it was like 28 days later, you know, they were pacing the beaches, the boat's late, and it was everywhere. And the drivers and the taxi drivers, this was before Ubers, this was before the drivers were delivering. And I've been a student, you know, lots of us have. I am wondering, this is purely speculation, if that drug, they were all at home at 1:45, and we have no idea what happened between 1:45 and 4, apart from calls to Jack D and this text or message or phone call to Eric Gower. And I'm wondering if there were people around in that house wanting to take some rugs and party a bit more or sit around. I mean, God, you know, when I was in Antigua and all the people around me were partaking in this stuff, it wasn't wild party. It was people sitting around chatting, all partaking in this stuff. And then it's like, oh, we've run out, we need more. And it would go on till 3, 4 morning. And I'm wondering, things going on in the house and something went very, very wrong. And these girls are covering for something that went very, very wrong. So it might not have been some outside person. It might not have been a fight that came in from Sigma Chi. It might have been that there was a group of people in this house and some things got out of hand and it went crazy. And that's why all the delays were happening. And it's like covering for their friends because something horrible happened and they wanted everyone to get out of it okay. It's just another theory. It could be plausible.
It certainly does make for interesting discussion, but
yeah,
I think of it like this. We're never going to know what really happened. And the way we know that for sure is because law enforcement is not going to ever pursue or try to find out or chase down any other lead. This is their guy. And if he is found not guilty, that's the end of it.
I don't think he's going to be found not guilty. No matter what evidence comes up, I think that man's going down for
it. Did I hear you say you think that he'll be found not guilty, or you don't?
I don't know. I think this to me is on a par with Delphi, and I think they're going to make sure this man goes down for it, because I tell you why. We look at a group of coincidences, and the U of I were purchasing, was it the Phoenix, or it was another university deal going through. So even if say that random theory I came up with a second ago is correct, they are not going to want anything to do with students coming out when they're trying to purchase another university. They're not going to want to boycott their own purchase. And no matter what happens, they have this patsy who came from somewhere else, who was in a different university, and that makes their university safer. And they're going to make sure he goes down for it. I'm convinced of it. I don't think this guy stands a chance. I really don't.
Yeah. I'm hesitant to say that I agree. And the reason is because, heaven forbid, if he listens to any of these and he hears us talking like this, I mean, talk about taking away all hope.
I know.
The last thing I want to do is do that. But yeah, you can tell that they're dead set on this. Come hell or high water, this will be done.
Yeah.
So it kind of ties into the point we're talking about a moment ago, is we can suspect, and it makes for interesting conversation, but we're never going to know what really happened.
I agree.
So it's kind of, pointless, other than having good conversation. Everybody likes to have a theory and share it and kick it around, but there's really, did you hear that?
Yeah. Either your stomach and you're hungry, or you have a cat.
Well, maybe it's to interrupt. I think maybe a bit of jealousy when I'm on the phone or something. Yeah. Yeah, acting up. So this Eric Gower business, they have to have us believing it's him. It's the mystery behind this, whether it's an Uber driver or a private driver. And the December 23rd News Nation reporting from the field, where Alex Caparello was, supposedly he just got off the telephone with the Uber driver who wishes to remain anonymous. And they spoke on the telephone, who reports nothing was suspicious that night. Or, the first time we learned his name was with JLR on 16th of May, that JLR somehow has an undated version of the PCA, and JLR shares with us that it's Eric Gower. So,
JLR, good research, Eddie. I don't remember that.
Whatever the purpose, they're dead set on having us believe it's him, which tells me that it's not him. Understanding another's mindset. One of the challenges that we've had this entire time, these 2 years, when we discuss these things in chat or on panels, is everyone seems to have a different mindset. And this is a complicated case because there's like two realities. And if I explain this well, let me know. And if no one, or if you don't understand it, I'll try to explain it in another way so everyone is tracking along. But these two realities is you have what really happened, which nobody's going to know. And then you have the other reality, and I got the little two fingers with the quotes in the air, that we kind of have to go along with. And in many of this case and trial, the defense has to go along with it too, because that's the cards they're given. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
And if not, let me know.
I just want to bring in possibly the third party thing that the defense could go with there. It's the cards they're dealt with, but they can find their own theories, can't they?
A lot of times, yeah. They should be able to defeat some of the propaganda or the nonsense that the state is pushing.
So
absolutely. But there's times when they'll have to roll with it. I can cite you, an example. One of them would be this Brett Payne interrogation over the phone. So they requested in a motion to compel this, and that was in May of 23, they want to, they haven't received this in the discovery yet. So the state responds and says, here you go, here it is. Well, the defense reviews that and says, that's the in-person FBI interview rather than the phone interview done by Moscow Police Department. So the state responds back and says, oh, my bad, we looked into that. And it turns out that we've been informed that that's a phone interview that was conducted by Special Agent Shirley, rather than, what you thought, with with Officer Payne. So right there, the state just absolutely shut them down. And the defense is going to have to run with that because they would look, foolish or desperate, because now it's he said, she said. They can't in the trial say, Brett Payne interviewed this client, because the state would deny it and say, show us that. Where's the recording of that? We'd like to hear it, right?
Do you find it odd that we're getting transcripts and not the actual 911 call?
I'm afraid of that, because it would take away all of the emotion and other things that are going to give us much more information about what really happened.
The other thing I want to ask you, Eddie, about what sort of linked to what you're saying, is that all these things that the prosecution are wanting to suppress, like third-party evidence, all the recent documents that have come out, they're wanting to suppress any third. It's so smacking of Delphi to me. I follow that. I know a lot about that case. That's the other big one that I follow. Why would they bother? Because I've not heard the defense bring up anything about any third-party evidence, yet the state want to suppress. They don't want this coming to trial, any third-party insinuations, evidence. They want, am I correct in thinking they want the phone data suppressed? They're basically trying everything that Delphi tried by suppressing all these things coming to trial. And this man's life is on the line. It's a death penalty case, and they're trying to get rid of anything the defense might bring up as an argument. But what intrigued me was this third party, where, they want to exclude this from the trial, but yet, does that mean that the prosecution, and no doubt they do know something that we don't, that goes without saying, but let me ask you this, if you thought that the defense had third-party suspects with possible evidence attached, who do you think it would be that the state didn't want bringing into trial? Like with Delphi, they didn't want Ron Logan mentioned, they didn't want the Odinist mentioned, yet we've not had a sniff of that with this case. What do you think's going on there?
Yeah, we'll never, they would have ensured that there would be no DNA from those real perpetrators discoverable or in existence in order, to prevent the defense from getting their hands on it. So it's gone. So the defense likely does not even know. They may have a theory, but proving it, again, just like the Brett Payne phone interview, it may be the truth, but how do you go about proving it? So the fingernail clippings are interesting to me, because it seems like the defense does have those, from what we've learned.
You see, now that is a really interesting thing in this case, because the defense want it thrown out because of the ambiguity of it. The jury could assume then that Koberger's DNA might be under the fingernails. And it gets really complicated then, because there's no proof that Brian's DNA is under the fingernails, but it seems like there's no proof that it isn't under the fingernails.
Oh, I've made a chart somewhere. I have that.
It looks suspicious already that the defense want this unknown DNA under the fingernails thrown out. And you'd hope that they'd want it put in because there's no proof it was Brian. And you can see how complicated it gets, because it's kind of like, well, I can see the defense are trying to think like a jury, and therefore let's not risk this because there's no proof that it was Brian's, but the jury might think it is Brian's. And I really am confused at that. I'm thinking, well, what is going on with the DNA under the fingernails?
Yeah, they misguided the secret grand jury because they were kind of talking over their heads, right?
Yeah.
And they kind of baffled them by misrepresenting what inconclusive, really means. I think you're talking about motions in limine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was I felt like the defense couldn't win there. And also, and by saying they want it thrown out makes Brian look more suspicious. Do you know what I mean? It's like they want it thrown out because the jury might think his DNA might be under the fingernails, even though there's no proof it's his DNA. However, by them wanting it to be thrown out also makes it look suspicious. It's really, I don't know. I just feel like that the state really doesn't have evidence against Koberger, yet the defense can't prove it wasn't him. It's like this horrible, typical mash of actually, the justice system. It's not up to the defense to prove Brian isn't guilty. It's up to the prosecution to prove he is guilty. However, it rarely works like that.
Yeah, and anytime he has the ability to prove, they want to hamstring him, such as his alibi. They for the longest time, were withholding discovery so that Cy Ray wasn't prepared to be able to show where his location was. So he had to, 2 months before the October 2nd trial date, he had to waive his right to speedy trial because they weren't prepared. Do you recall that?
The speedy trial?
Yeah, so with his alibi, it's been a back and forth struggle between the state and the defense. And the state is so, for example, like July 27th, the prosecution filed a motion to demand alibi or exclude the alibi.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in the timeline of this whole thing, October 2nd was the trial date. So in other words, it's like about 2 months away only. So they didn't have the discovery yet. So he had extend the trial date in order for Cyree to be able to get the data proving his trip to Wawa Park. But they didn't have all discovery from the state. So, by the way, the alibi still has not been, we still haven't heard the final, because somewhere in there, John Judge was supposed to make a ruling on it, and he never did, and we never heard nothing about it. And
that is why now they're trying to throw it out, aren't they?
Yeah, the state seems like the only thing they want him to be able to do is take the stand and like verbally say, that he wasn't there, rather than have science prove that he wasn't there.
Well, that's ludicrous to me. I mean, if they had someone up there who said, I was asleep, how... I remember reading that they needed a witness, someone who saw him, life doesn't work like that. If this guy says, I was driving around, I went to I can't say it, Wawa Country Park.
Works for me.
Why Country Park. You will need an expert to prove your route of travel. And I can understand that the defense are not going to put that forward because they already do not trust the state with their mappings and their cast reports and their phone pings and all of this stuff. So it was cat and mouse, wasn't it? It was bat and ball. It was like back and forth, back and forth. I'm not telling you this until you tell me that, and you tell me this until I tell you that. If your alibi is, I drove around and I went to this park and I will produce a witness to prove that, how is that not enough?
Yeah.
How is that not enough? This is purely hypothetical, as you know. Jack DeCour. Okay. Oh, I was sleeping. I didn't answer my phone. His phone was in that house. I mean, let's not forget, law enforcement cleared him immediately, pretty much. His housemates verified that he was sleeping. He said he was sleeping. How is that concrete? You've got a housemate, and it's like, well, you know what? I didn't see him leave his room, so I saw him go into his room. Therefore, he was sleeping. How does he prove he was sleeping?
Can't prove it.
He proves it because his housemate said so. You know what I mean? It's crazy. If Brian can bring an expert to the stand who says, actually, I can prove that this guy's phone and his car went this way and that way and didn't go this way, and I'm going to put all the timings together, and this is what happened. That's got to be better than someone saying, you know what, I was asleep, my mum and my mate can justify that. It's crazy to me.
That's an interesting thought, and let's continue with it. Let's, because when you and I were younger, there's no such thing as cell phones. So, you would need like a physical alibi, a person. But now it seems like wherever your phone is, then therefore you were, right? That's kind of almost truth.
Almost, but it's like what? So our phones are kind of melted onto our bodies that, you can't leave your phone somewhere and commit a crime.
Right. And criminals are very sophisticated, so they know this. So like, say a spouse, a husband offs his wife, and then he takes her phone and pretends to chat or text with it, right? Because, if the phone shows a text history, then that means that's life, right? So he's trying to misguide or throw off the investigation by doing that. And of course, again, that's because of this mindset. Wherever the phone is, therefore the person is. So
that's ridiculous. It's not like your phone is your right hip.
Right. So we have to take that way of thinking in this case and say, is it really even Dylan's and Bethany's hands that are doing the typing when we read these texts? Because if you've been around on YouTube, you probably already know that there's a one of our favorite creators, Lana. She has discovered that the time between the texts it's kind of nonsense. It's not the way the real flow or the cadence of two people texting each other would even be. They don't even wait for, the amount of time that it would really have been in real life. So are they, are we being misled? Are we thinking that DM and BF did the texting when they really didn't? Kind of like that spouse, that husband that offed his wife and pretended to be her on her texting.
Eddie, I did a whole video 18 months ago giving so many examples, including the Gilgo Beach suspect, Rex Heumann, who used victims' phones to text family members. I did a whole video on that. It's so common that these perpetrators, even in a sudden, non-planned crime of passion, will suddenly think to pick up the phone and text family members, "Hey, you okay? I can't contact you right now." It's really not beyond the pale, beyond the realms. It's people. What strikes me with this case is so many people will say, "Oh, you're conspiracy theorists, you're this, that, and the other, you're this, that, and this." It's like, hang on a minute. We are talking about one of the weirdest, most extreme crimes you can think of. And you think that we're off the wall here? 4 students got killed in a horrible way in a house. And you think there's not something really underhand about this? It's crazy to me that people think because we're thinking outside of the law enforcement box that we're crazy. It's like, no, we're looking at the evidence. There's a channel I watch. I won't name her. I follow her for the Delphi case. I follow her for a lot of things. And what I find really, really strange about this channel is that she is absolutely 100% prepared to look at outside the box with Delphi, but she is not at all prepared to look at the evidence or lack of evidence with the Koberger case.
Oh, I know which one.
And absolutely will not look outside the box. And I'm thinking, this is crazy to me. To me, it says she hasn't looked at everything. She hasn't looked at the hearings. She hasn't seen everything. And I just find the public fascinating in these things. It's part of me. I think, well, you're prepared to look at that. And this could, you're prepared to see that there is corruption in law enforcement over here, but you're not prepared to see it over there. And it's madness.
Inconsistent. It makes you raise your eyebrow.
Yeah, completely. But the other thing, you mentioned Lana, the thing I loved it when she brought it up because it struck me straight away was when Dylan and Bethany are texting. It shows that Dylan phoned all of them in the house, first of all. So she phoned Bethany, Zana, Kaylee, and Maddie, I believe. The next interaction is she messages Bethany and says, none of them are answering. She rightly said, I hope she sent that message because Bethany did not answer the call either. I thought this was such a big point because I was like, yes, Lana, that's exactly what I thought. Dylan contacted Bethany, Zana, Kaylee, and Maddie, tried to call the 4 of them, including Bethany, and it says in the script, none of them answered. None of them. So then she messages Bethany. None of them are answering. Why did she message Bethany? None of them are answering. She should have messaged all of them. Nobody is answering. Why did she message Bethany? I thought that was absolutely a boom for me. Why didn't she message? Bethany didn't answer either. Why didn't she message Maddie and Kaylee? Nobody's answering. No, she messaged Bethany.
Sure suggests she knows something, huh?
I just thought this was huge to me. I was like, you have gone to the other survivor after calling her. She didn't answer either. And you've straight away said, nobody's answering. And like Lana said, I hope she said that to everyone who didn't answer. Because why would she have gone to Bethany to say that? Why didn't she say to Xana, nobody's answering? Xana didn't answer. Why did she go to Bethany and say that? I thought this was, to me, that was a huge red flag. Massive. Massive red flag. Yes, message Bethany. No one will answer. Well, then you need to have messaged all of them who didn't answer, saying the others didn't answer. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that is the first step to me. I'm sorry. I know you said earlier there's no reason to think they're guilty of anything. I agree to a point. But since this has all been released, there are things that just don't jive at all.
Right. But keep in mind, if they have involvement, and you and I, and again, when I say you, I mean you all listening, plural, everybody, know that or suspect that, how much more so would law enforcement?
Yeah.
I mean, in order for us to have the mindset of like that doggone DM or that doggone BF, you know, they're involved. Our mindset would have to be, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm reading into it a little bit, but wouldn't our mindset have to be that we can sense that and we know that, but law enforcement doesn't believe it? Does that make sense? Is that our mindset? Like law enforcement isn't sensible to that? They really believe her statement that she's, you know, she's got this this statement that she's making that's very inconsistent and very evasive and suspicious, but that goes right over the investigators' heads. They're too green, they're too dumb, right? In order for us to have that much suspicion about the roommates, then law enforcement would as well, even more so.
Well, this is it. And how did they clear them so fast? I just want to give a shout out to Willie. Willie was coming up. He was behind the scenes. I said, give me a sec. And he said, and he's gone. So sorry, Willie, you're welcome. I just said, give me a sec, just so that we could find a moment for you. Oh, can we bring Willie up, Eddie? Is that
yeah,
okay?
He can come up. Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, hey, Willie. Sorry, I was like,
I didn't know if because I know Eddie doesn't like when there's a bunch of people talking on panel and stuff.
No, you're more than welcome. I was just like, give me a sec because I was listening.
No, that's all right. I figured. I thought it was gonna. I didn't know if it was an open panel. If you guys were like,
yes, open panel. Come on, you're more than nice to see you. Come and
what's
join
going
us.
on?
Nice to see you. This is the first picture of you
too.
I've seen.
Yeah, we've been.
What'd you say?
Welcome.
Welcome. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Willie? I'd love to hear them.
Well, I know Eddie's heard my thoughts on this. I mean, it's kind of the same as you guys. In my opinion, common sense doesn't seem so common, I guess, with this case, as far as MSM and most people, because all you got to do is look at it and you can see what's going on here. I asked a big question yesterday, which is, if you're the prosecution and you had to just in your mind play out your opening statement, right? Say hypothetically somehow the defense gets your touch DNA on the sheet thrown out somehow, some way, and gets it thrown out. What do you open with? What else do you have in your opening statement without 100% harping on the touch DNA that you're going to be able to prove in your case while you're putting your case on? What, as the prosecution, what else are you guys bringing up that we know so far?
Without being snarky?
Go for it. Be snarky.
Yeah, I mean,
I would to be consistent with the hearing that we've seen most recently. I'd just open with at the end of the day and just repeatedly throw that out there, see if it works. I bet it would work. I bet that would impress the judge greatly, and I think it would work in this case. That's in upside down world in this case.
Yeah. I'm just trying to imagine like a jury sitting there. Yeah, I'm just trying to like imagine a jury sitting there not knowing anything about this, not knowing nothing about nothing. Okay. And the prosecution getting up there and explaining to them how they're going to prove it's that man sitting right there. That's what I'm very curious of, because everything that comes out, every single piece of paperwork that comes out, it's great that it tells us this, this, and this, but none of it implicates Brian. None of it.
No.
And we were told, oh, just wait till everything, just wait. Everything's going to come out. Well, where is it?
What worries me, Willie, I don't know if you follow the Delphi case, that this is what went on with Richard Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And in trial, none of it came out. It was bulging with reasonable doubt, and they still found him guilty.
Yeah. But I mean, at least here, again, I hope this, because Hitler said, I'm sick and tired of you guys stealing everything. I hope Hitler has seen the light. I hope, that he allows Brian to put on a defense, and it's not just what the prosecution wants, is just Brian sitting on a stand explaining his alibi. Brian should be able to have experts and all that kind of stuff to be able to prove where he was, what he was doing, this, that, and the third, because that's just how it should be. But the prosecution doesn't want that, because they know that once he does that, I mean, to a juror who doesn't know anything, they're going to say, well, he wasn't over here, so how did he do it? They don't want the jury to know the full story, and that angers me.
Yeah. Well, there's only one reason a prosecution is afraid of these things being presented at trial, and that's because they don't have a case. There is no other explanation.
Absolutely.
It's like if you.
But then what's your motive, right? If you're an investigator, you guys are investigators, right? What's your motive to not give two shits about 3 sources of blood DNA and focus all your attention on this nanogram, whatever verbiage you want to use, invisible DNA on a button of a sheath? But what's your motive to disregard all these DNA samples over here? There has to be a motive behind it,
Like, absolutely. But they don't care about motive. They care about excuses. And the excuse.
Yeah, but I'm saying if they did a lazy investigation, why did they dig so hard to find out this suspect's name of this DNA, but these over here, they could have done a quarter of the work and found out the names? Why don't these matter?
Well, because, Willie, in my honest opinion, I did a short 2 years ago that a sheath was planted, and I stand by that to this day.
But I can't get on that. See, I can't get on that train, because to be honest, if I'm going to plant something, I'm not going to plant it with blood on it that is going to then throw a wrench into my framing job here. I'd put something in that just has the person who I'm trying to frame's DNA on it. So to me, if you're going to plant something, why would you plant something with blood on it and the person you're trying to frame. You know what I mean?
Willie,
but
That I can't get past that.
what blood was on the sheath?
What do you mean?
Whose
The-
blood was on the sheath?
There's male blood on the.
we don't know if it's male.
It's. Do we have to bring up the? We can bring up the document.
I haven't seen that document then.
Oh
There's
yeah,
There's male blood on the sheath.
there's blood on a sheath. Yes,
There is blood.
The woman
on
is describing. The woman is describing swabbing it, right? And then she actually reads an email in front of Anne. This isn't a transcript. She reads an email in front of Anne and says that the knife was swabbed. And at that point, Hitler came out like a bat out of hell and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you talking about?" And then she's like, "Oh, I meant the knife sheath." So again, I don't know what's going on. I just know in the transcripts that it says that there was blood found on that sheath, on the same sample that they swabbed on the button. They found blood on that sheath. I thought everybody knew that.
So I knew there was blood. But Heather's saying now it's male. It's male blood.
And Vic says it wasn't blood. Okay, Vic. Let's bring up the paperwork.
No, I don't have the paperwork. I'm sorry.
It's mixed. I thought everybody was aware of this, that there's a mixed sample on the sheet. That's why to me the whole planted thing doesn't kind of make sense in my head, because why are you planting something that has, a potential roadblock for you if you're gonna want to strictly focus on Brian?
Well, I absolutely hold my hands up and say I have not heard about this. I knew there was blood on the sheath, and I wrongly thought it was the victim's blood. But Heather's just said it's male.
Yeah.
And it's not Brian's.
See what I mean? And then there's DNA under fingernails that isn't Brian's. Like, what the hell's going on here?
The other thing about blood on the handrail, there were commenters saying,
and that's leading downwards, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
It's going
first and second floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, but that wasn't the path of travel. These are all the comments I read.
Who cares?
And I'm like, how do you know it wasn't the path of travel?
Yeah, just because Dylan said she saw somebody walk a certain way, she didn't even see him leave. She just said they walked towards the slider, but yet she was ready to bolt down the steps. Okay.
She now says she's not sure that they exited from the slider, and Dylan went from the second to the first floor. So, and the cops knew that, and they still didn't test blood on the handrail.
Well, let me ask. Well, let me ask you this, right? What makes everybody believe that she went from the second to the first floor?
Well, according to that, well, exactly, did she? We've only got
because the text kept going, didn't they?
Yeah.
So she never ran when Bethany said run. She said, "I'm screwed." And Bethany said, "It's better than being alone." Basically, like, get your ass down here. But they were still talking after Bethany said, "Run now." They were still texting each other. You're not going to text somebody if you're in the same room as them. So did she ever actually go down there? And if she did, at when? Because it wasn't at that point,
I think assuming anything in this case makes an ass of you and me. I assume she might have gone down when the text stopped, but that is pure assumption.
That's what I mean. We don't even know, because again, they took texts out. They didn't give us all the text. We don't even know, half the verbiage.
Why are they hiding all the texts?
Well, it's not. I think the whole point of this. I thought the whole point of this, like, the document is to have these texts removed. So they're basically including texts that they want not in the trial. So I guess all the other texts that aren't included are okay to put in as evidence. I don't know. But if you look at like how they're texting, they were obviously having a conversation before those texts, you can tell.
Absolutely.
And then Dylan's responses to stuff is to stuff Bethany's saying, you can tell. So yeah, I mean, we're just going by chunks of what that conversation actually was. But what I found pretty odd, maybe you guys find it odd, is how many people are contacting others at this between 2:50 and 3 o'clock. right? That's what me and Annie were just talking for like 2 hours about. So you have Dylan hitting up the rideshare driver, and you have what's her name calling what's his name Jack like for 30 minutes or something. Yeah. So everybody's freaking out around this time, but then you have these texts over here, which makes you believe that this happened around 420. Stuff's still going on 422.
Yeah, long after the event, in my opinion.
So then, are those texts actually legit? Like, is that legit in the moment text, or is that text to just kind of have something to say? Look,
yeah,
I don't know.
I've got to have a bathroom break. You guys talk. I'll be right back.
What do you think, Eddie?
Well, I have notes on the blood and the unknown male.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So unknown male A is from the sheath, and that's not blood. That's his, yeah,
that's
touch
that's a touch. Yeah.
Yeah. Unknown male B is from inside the house on the handrail.
Mm-hmm.
And unknown male B is a mixture. And we know that because of page 65 and 66 on those transcripts, and suggests it's a mixture. And it's hard to tell if she's referring to the handrail. We'll have to just guess that she's referring to the handrail, because there's also the cigarette, which is unknown male B as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's on page 62, lab item number 30.
So you're saying a cigarette and the blood are the same guy?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah. Unknown male B is blood on the handrail and a cigarette butt. And again, for those wanting to check it out, page 62, they're talking about the cigarette butt, which
talking about the transcript, right?
Yeah, that's lab item number 30. And then page 65 through 66, they're talking about the hand. I think it's the handrail. We have to conjecture it. She's not, and suggests it's a mixture, but she didn't say cigarette butt, nor did she say handrail, but it almost has to be the handrail. What's more likely to have a mixture, the handrail or the cigarette butt, right? Okay, getting to the blood on the sheath. Indeed, it is a mixed sample. 100% it's a mixed sample, but we don't know the gender. There's nowhere that we know it's of what it's a mixture. There's no way to prove that at this point, but it is mixed. There's no doubt about that. The blood on the sheath, but look at where it was placed. It's placed under the covers between two deceased. So of course it could be a mixture. I mean, it just makes sense. And if anyone's planting it, why would you, like you said, why would you, if you're bleeding all over it, why would you dare plant it? That's contrary to anything common sense.
Well,
so it has to be, 2 feet. I'm guessing, this is a guess, it has to be 2 females, mixed blood on the sheath. Nellie, you were gone, but maybe you heard us, maybe not. But the blood on the sheath is a mixed sample. We just don't know the genders. That's all.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So my thoughts are really basic with the sheath. Okay. The PCA gave the clues for me. Was Payne saying he later saw it next to Mogan, her left side as seen from the door. Okay, very clearly laying next to Mogan as seen from the door. Then we hear later it's beneath Mogan, partially wrapped in a comforter. Then Dawn Daniels states in a warrant that the sheath was either next to or beneath Mogan. So then I think, why do you not know where the sheath was? It's either next to her or it's under her and partially wrapped in a comforter. I think, purely speculation here, guys, but I think nobody saw that sheath at the crime scene, and Payne fucked up in the PCA and said next to, when actually they've got no body cam of it next to her at all, which is why they then changed it to it's actually under her and partially wrapped in a comforter. Then
Nellie,
listen to these dates, though. Listen to these dates, right? So remember those cowboys that went into the house? That was around the kind of 8th of December. They went in and News Nation reported they took nothing out. Who's to say they didn't take something in? Who's to say they didn't photograph something? Because they had gloves on in that house. You can see clearly. I've gone back and watched all the footage. Those cowboys have got blue gloves on in the house. One of them stops and looks at their hand, and they walk out. That's around December the 8th. On December the 10th, FBI take over the DNA.
the 3rd and the 8th, did you know that the FBI, well, we don't know if it's FBI, but the Cowboys went into the house on 2 different occasions.
The News Nation ones I'm talking about, excuse me, the News Nation ones, I think they reported 9th or 10th, and it was like the Thursday before they went in, so which made it 8th or 9th, and the FBI took over that DNA on the 10th. Now, bear in mind, Ann Taylor got them to admit they tested the inside of the snap, which was brass. Now, if you look at the Idaho State Police website about DNA, it says if you've got a minute sample of DNA and they give it the example of touch DNA, we test it in its entirety, it says, to get the best possible result. So initially, ISP tests the DNA, the minute speck on brass, which disintegrates really quickly, and then they send something to Othram. So what did they have left to send to Othram? And when it gets to Othram, it doubles in size when it gets to the FBI. It could have disintegrated long before it got to Othram. It does not make sense. Not at all. And I will put money on it. I will put money on it. They do not have body cam footage of that sheath at the crime scene.
They have, yeah, they do. It's at like 12:04 and like 55
That's what I mean.
seconds.
They do.
It's on Nunez's body cam. That's the latest that we've learned. So
Yeah, but
I'll give you a source on that.
is there a time on that?
Yeah, it's like 12. We'll just call it 12:05. You know,
Yeah, that came
5
out
minutes
recently.
after, because it's easier to remember 12:05 than 12:04 and 50.
Yeah, though, is it?
It's on
No,
Nunez's
it's in the
body
paperwork
cam.
that just came out.
Well, then I've missed that paper. I apologize.
Okay.
It's just come out, has it?
Yeah, a lot of stuff.
It's one of the
came
more
out.
recent things we've discovered. Yeah.
Okay.
Brian Enton was there on December 3rd for the first Cowboys, and then Nancy Lou was there on December 8th for the other time.
Can I ask, in this Nunes body cam,
Mhm.
Does it state that this at the crime scene it was beneath Mogan, or was it next to her?
It's tucked under the covers is the latest description, whatever that means.
So did they pull it out then on this body cam, I wonder? Did they, or was it poking out? Weird. I
yeah,
don't know.
It's not
I don't trust it at all.
very descriptive, other than it was tucked under the covers, and apparently on his body cam. So what does that mean? You know, we could read into it. Does that mean you can see the leather of the sheath, or does it make the covers bulge up where it is apparently underneath? I mean, I don't know what it looks like. Close your eyes and try to imagine it. There is only part of it visible. it's hard to say what they're actually looking at unless you had the body cam and saw it yourself.
I'm really sus of it. I'm sorry. I will definitely have to go and look at those documents. But from what I understand, DNA is not going to last on brass.
Right. And she got, like you said, she got them to admit that it's not the back side of the snap where you press it with your thumb. It's the inside.
Yeah.
Where they swabbed.
And the outside is powder coated and the inside is brass.
That's right.
That can actually disappear in minutes.
Exactly. You got to admit, Anne is putting in the work. She's getting it on the record.
Yeah, because just in case for the appeals.
Oh, she knows what she's up against. This is dangerous, whatever's going on.
Oh,
Everyone,
yeah.
put in chat if you think that there's been all along a disinformation campaign. Put a 1 if you think that.
It still is.
Yes.
Everything MSM puts out is like, oh, look at these texts. They were terrified.
So this is another theory I've got that I wanted to discuss is the 911 call.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my theory, okay? So imagine, I always try and put myself in someone else's shoes, right? So imagine I want to lie to 911. I've got a story to tell. And I think there are hints of that in the 911 call. This is just my opinion, in that, you know, you think your friend and housemate is unconscious, but your first thoughts are, can I please tell you my story?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
At 4 a.m. And yeah, there was a man in the house, and the 911 dispatcher is saying, well, whoa, hang on a minute. Is there somebody that needs help here, basically? And they're fanning around with, but can I tell you my story? At 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So then they say, is this person breathing? Whoa, let me check. No, not breathing. Okay. So if you've got, say, for example, this is purely hypothesizing, right? Say you already know what's happened and you know damn well that Xana is dead, right? And you've got your story together and you've got this thing to put forward to 911 and you're trying to put this thing and you're passing the phone around and, well, we need to remember this and we need to remember this, and they want you to check on the victim. If you already know the victim's dead, do you bother to go and check on the victim? Probably
No.
not. So
That's the thing. You have Emily and Hunter there who were just called over. So
but when you're telling a story, Willie, you forget to mention things like blood. Because I'm telling you now, if you actually went to check on Xana to see if she was breathing, you would be screaming murder and blood.
yeah, but how aren't you telling that somebody is gone if supposedly they're in a pool of blood and the rigor mortis? It's been what, 8 hours? They're sitting there white as a ghost. You can't tell that they passed away. Like, that I don't understand. But you see how in that call they don't mention the other person. They don't mention Ethan at all in that call, do they?
No.
So that tells me that Xana and Ethan were in two way different spots. They weren't next to each other or in the same room or any of that, because he's not even mentioned. So what was the motive? Because what we were told is, oh, they called Hunter over to break down a door. Really? What door? Because if they would have broke down the door, they would have mentioned Ethan on that call, wouldn't they have? So what was the motive to call or text Emily and Hunter and summon them over to the house if you didn't need a door knocked down? What are you calling other people over for?
because they have to collaborate a story, in my opinion. The point I'm trying to make is if you've got together with people and you've got a story and you're relaying it to 911, it's very easy to forget the fact there's blood everywhere. So they're busy trying to get their story straight. They don't.
I guess. I mean, if you call me over to the house and I see that somebody's laying in a pool of blood that is my friend or, you know, whatever, they're just arriving to a scene and learning about this information, and they see Zen in a pool of blood. If I'm Emily or Hunter, I don't give a shit about what story you guys are trying to make up. I'm calling the cops and saying what's going on. But that's just me.
Well, I think that's all of us, Willie. And I think if Hunter and Emily were new to that scene, Hunter would not be going, no, I've checked if she's breathing, she's not breathing. He'd be going, oh my God, she's dead, that's blood, it's a murder, please send someone straight away. Not, no, I've checked, she's not breathing, and can I tell you this story, by the way, about what happened? It does not ring true. I don't think
It would if she wasn't stabbed.
They need to put forward a plausible explanation as to why the 8-hour delay before calling 911. And the only way to do that is to try to convince the public that what was in their minds was not the real scene as we know it today. They were somehow oblivious.
Yeah.
So,
it's all an act.
Yeah, but that's what I can get past with the two that just had 8 hours to make up a story. But the two that are summoned over, I can't get on board why they would all of a sudden be like, okay, we're gonna go along with your guys' plan. Like, why?
maybe because
People are dead. Their friends are dead in the house, and they're gonna care about trying to downplay the crime scene.
Yeah, but Willie, we don't know that they're new to that crime scene. I think there's a big chance that Bethany and Dylan shot out of that house.
But then again, all that should be able to be proven then by, you know, where their phones were, where the phones are traveling.
Yeah, but they
you know,
this tower, don't they? That services like miles. But
if they're making calls and stuff and they're texting, that's all. That I mean, if numbers are traveling together with you know, with other numbers and stuff.
But imagine, okay, let's just imagine Dylan went down to Bethany at, say, this is pure speculation, say at 4:55 in the morning. They all bolt out of the front door and go to Hunter Johnson's house, and there's no more texts until God knows what time. How do they prove where Dylan and Bethany are? And what if they sit in Hunter and Emily's place going, oh, Jesus Christ, I think this has happened and this has happened, and I think it's these people, and I know it's these people, and what the fuck are we going to do? And there's rugs involved, and this, that, and the other, and they all put a story together, go back to the house at God knows what time. Dylan calls her dad and is like, Dad, I don't know what to do. This has happened. And then they go, okay, this is what we're going to say. This is what we're going to say. And Hunter and Emily are going, you should have called 911. I know we should have called 911, but blah, 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 and I was high on drugs and this, that, and the other. Okay, so this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, but 911 wasn't called until Emily and Hunter got there. So whatever they did or said provoked somebody to call 911.
Yeah, that's why. But what if Dylan?
But like, why after she texted her, called her dad? I don't know why her dad wasn't like, yo, call 911 at 10 something.
Question. That is a big question.
There's a lot of questions. You know, unfortunately, we're not going to get answers to a lot of them. But you know, it's a lot of this. It doesn't make sense. But again, it all stems back to one thing. None of it implicates Brian.
I'm just going to ask that. How do you two feel about Brian in all of this? You know, I mean,
where does he fit?
Where does he fit?
He doesn't know any of these people.
How does okay? Let's say Brian had a, you know, like the guilters want us to believe. Let's say he had a fixation on Maddie, and he went crazy in that house. So why then? Would he take out Zana and Ethan and leave Dylan? Yet he stared her straight in the face, apparently.
You don't.
You don't.
Well, you don't even go there in the first place because you don't even know that that person that you're infatuated with exists. So that's why I'm not believing any of this. This guy just goes miles and miles away from his house to go to a random house he'd never been to before and just hope to God that there's not, I don't know, cops that live in that house. How the hell would he know who lives there?
Exactly. And if he had a fixation on one of them, why did he let
There's no SA or okay.
No, yeah, absolutely that. But why did he let? If he was some Ted Bundy, do you think he'd have let Dylan live?
No, you're not leaving nobody that sees you.
Absolutely.
If you just took out people that didn't see you, right? If we're led to believe that Ethan's just passed out like a rock on the bed and that person's getting stabbed, but the person that the killer sees on the way out, he's going to leave to be able to describe to the police. Yeah, okay. I'll believe that never. Ever.
There's so little that connects Brian to any of this.
So to answer your question, Nellie, as you all know, Brian Koberger did not do this. And that is the truth.
I believe that 100%.
Nothing shows he does.
I'll tell you what, it frightens me how many people think he did.
It is scary.
Yeah. That's because they watch, court TV and all that kind of shit, who just are pushing one way.
When you see that, I call that laying it on thick, when people are over the top acting and you can see through it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very telling. People, they don't act that way normally, right? So in other words, we know that they're lying when if you were to think of them as like if they were a spy during wartime and they acted like that, that would compromise their cover. And we all know that your cover is your life if you're a spy. And if you blow it, you will disappear forever. So the fact that they're acting like that, if they were a spy, they would meet their end. Of course, they can do what they're doing with impunity now because there's no danger. But the fact that they're behaving that way will be enough to show you all that they're not being authentic and they don't believe it. Something is compelling them to do that. So you have to ask yourself, what could it be that's compelling them to do that? Because they look foolish when they talk like that.
But they mingle with fools.
Are you talking? Are you talking about the
guilters that are on like mainstream media? And they say the oddest things and they act like they believe what they're saying, but it's like over the top act.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Remember,
such as like, I'll call one out, like Ashley Banfield.
Yeah, I was just
when he was describing when he was supposedly approached by a female student because she thought her apartment had been broken into, and she asked him for help to set up a security thing or whatever in her apartment. And Ashley Banfield says, like, the irony, like just laying it on thick. And
yeah,
that's not normal. It's like trying to sell it too hard,
Yeah.
Yeah. If she was a wartime spy, that's her cover blown. You don't act,
Great analogy. I love that because she's full of that. Do you remember when they were raiding Brian's apartment and she's like, and guess what? Guess which room was locked? And they blotted out the bit saying inaudible where they said it's locked because it's single occupancy. They absolutely blocked that part out of that video footage and put inaudible over it.
But see, that's where they screwed up here in this case. And they arrested him and then thought that they were going to find, everything they needed in his apartment, in his house, yada, yada, yada. But unfortunately for them, they came up empty, and now they have to backpedal and figure out how to make him stick with absolutely no evidence, because they thought they were going to find it all.
Yeah, I mean, I remember them sitting there, and there was the woman from the Daily Mail who was like, it's going to be a Petri dish.
Yeah, remember that?
Petri dish.
Yeah.
Nancy Grace was saying it too.
Oh, she's revolting.
That car is going to have everything. What did it have?
Nothing.
Just like everything else.
See, and the damage is done on the initial report. When you put out the disinformation, it gets all the press and the attention, but the retraction that comes a week or a month or whatever time later, that goes unnoticed in comparison.
Exactly. They don't care. They just put it out. Even if they turn out to be completely wrong, they just keep it out for more views, and it's like, Jesus mighty. All those people in the comments are like, yeah, shoot them, yeah, and they never read a lick of paperwork, nothing.
And here's another tell. A lot of these guilters, that they don't believe what they're saying themselves, because they wouldn't say that or act like that if that was one of their own family members, their child, their brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't have that mindset. So that's telling as well.
They'd be the first ones begging everybody else to believe them. Please, my brother's innocent. Really?
The other one Ashley came out with was here's Brian Koberger in his class studying The Handmaid's Tale. And we all know what that's about. He's the only man in the room studying that. And it's about, women and oppressing women and all of this stuff. And I studied English literature. The Handmaid's Tale, everyone who studies English literature studies The Handmaid's Tale, or literature, I should say. And when I freezed her image of the classroom, she's like, I can't remember the author now, Margaret Atwood or whatever she's called. That's her, and there's Brian Koberger. And it was so dramatic that he was studying this book on his arts class.
Yeah, they're going to look at everything.
Yeah, but when you zoomed in, there were about 12 other men in the class. And all I took from that was, look how bloody tall he is. And you've got saying, he's a couple of, maybe my height, couple of inches taller. Really, Dylan?
Yeah, people are nuts.
Huge. He's huge. He's over 6 foot, I'm telling you now.
Of course he is. All you got to do is look at the picture of 10 cops walking him away, and he's taller than all of them. Unless those are those cops are midgets. I don't know.
They're big guys. Yeah, he's the tallest one of the bunch. That's for sure.
So how the hell was he a normal height?
We recently found out that Dylan had, I find this really chilling, has got pictures that she drew herself of eyes and bushy eyebrows all over her walls before the murders.
That's hilarious.
I mean, did anyone else think of the usual?
But think about it. She described probably what she saw on the wall, what Xana said to her, exactly to Ellie. Xana said, not Xana, Bethany. Bethany said Xana's dressed in all black. What did Dylan tell Ellie? Clad in black.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And bushy eyebrows. Oh, it just so happens she has one bushy eyebrow she saw, and she has a wall full of bushy eyebrows. Like, what the hell is going on? And cops bought this and were like, oh, cool, okay, sure, yeah. And wrote it down as evidence. Like, Jesus mighty, that's sick.
There is another spin
It's only in an upside down world that can be.
I guess. Because, like I said, I'm just being honest. If you replace Dylan and Bethany with me and Eddie, right, and all this shit comes out, the public will be wanting our heads on a silver platter. But in this case, I get shamed for victim blaming. People are calling them kids, all this kind of stuff because they're young females. But if these were men, are you kidding me? Nobody's believing this shit.
Yeah,
Nobody. I mean, everybody can say they are. How can you say that? Because I'm right. That's why I'm saying it. They'd be arrested like that.
There's another spin on the an eyebrow thing. I kept thinking about The Usual Suspects. I kept thinking about Kaiser Soze, and I was thinking it's either Dylan has confused in her trippy state what she's got on her own walls, but she's already obsessed with bushy eyebrows and eyes. I find that really weird. And then I think, well, what if, that scene with Kevin Spacey sitting there describing Kaiser Soze, and he gets out and walks out, and then the cop looks around him and sees this on that poster and this on that poster.
But if she's that good at, but listen, if she's that good at, sketching eyebrows and eyes and all this kind of shit, why didn't she help LE by sketching what she saw? I didn't see no sketches put out. I mean, they had a professional right there in front of them.
But then there's only so much you can describe, isn't there?
I mean, she saw it, a couple hours prior, and she's a perfectionist in drawing eyebrows. Draw them. Draw what you saw, kid.
They just need her. They just need her for a timeline, and they don't want her to be an actual witness.
Exactly.
What do you think the exculpatory evidence Bethany might have? What do you think the defense? Now we've got more information. What do you think the defense believes Bethany has that is exculpatory?
Probably them terrified, and Bethany saying Xana's dressed in all black. I mean, it would make sense because the prosecution wants that out. So I think Bethany saw something completely different than what Dylan saw. I mean,
what if she didn't see anyone other than Xana?
That's what I mean. And who knows what she texted, because we don't know anything about Bethany's phone. We just know about Dylan's phone.
It's crazy. And the vacuum cleaner, yeah. I mean, fireman with a vacuum cleaner.
I wonder if she thought to herself, because that was the second time she mentioned it. The second time around, I think she mentioned the vacuum. I think she maybe thought to herself, like, shit, they're going to find evidence of cleanup. Let me say that I saw somebody with a vacuum cleaner. I don't understand the point of saying that. You saw a fireman with a vacuum cleaner that has one eyebrow. What's going on?
I mean, this is just ludicrous.
How high are you?
Unless he had a knife and in her trippy state.
Why is this fireman holding a vacuum and not the knife? Because we know the knife's not in the sheath anymore, so somebody has to be carrying it. And the knife's never seen,
Guys, my theory is that they need her to be so unreliable as a witness so that she cannot testify to anything. She's deemed unreliable, useless as a witness, because she probably does know some of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want her to say what it is.
But they already said that they're using them as, they're putting them on a stand. The prosecution said in the paperwork, so.
Just to document their, surprise.
The cross-examination should be imminent for them then, so get ready.
There's only one reason that grand jury indicted Brian, and it was the sheath.
Well, the reason that the grand jury indicted him is because everything that they presented to the grand jury was a lie. Everything.
So why shouldn't the sheath be a lie?
What do you mean?
If they've lied about everything else.
Like, listen, who knows? Again, his DNA is on, even his touch DNA is on nowhere in there on a non-movable object. The only his transfer DNA is on a movable object. Why isn't his DNA anywhere else? So I think if you just came to the grand jury with that, But then when Payne threw in his imaginary route, then you throw in this, throw in that, the draft, then they're probably like, all right, fine. But if you just, 90% of it was all made up.
Well, the great thing about Payne is that he's on record not remembering any of it.
Yeah. And he's on record saying flat out, why would we look into the other DNAs? We already had Brian's name. After he just said they didn't have Brian's name until the 19th. Dumbass. He screwed himself.
She just right there did get him to testify that they were aware of his name before the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
He let it. She tricked him.
Exactly. And then let me read you this, Nellie, since you haven't seen the transcript yet. Let me read you this real quick. So this is Ann talking to a witness. I'm going to say what Ann says just real quick. I'll start halfway through a paragraph. Reading the email that's been placed in front of you, does that refresh your recollection about what you believe to be the place the sheath was swabbed? Answer, very much so. Question, where was it swabbed? Answer, the knife was swabbed the entire, can I? And then Hippler comes right in and says, did you just say the knife was swabbed? And the witness says, sorry, the knife sheath. Am I able to read it? Am I allowed to read it? She says. So while she's reading this email, she says, and you have the transcript here. It says the knife was swabbed the entire, and then there's 2 dashes, and it says, can I? So she's trying to go back on her word. And then Hippler comes in and says, did you just say the knife was swabbed? So,
Willie, you've gone.
You might have muted yourself, Willie.
Willie.
am I still here? Because
You know. Yep. There you go.
Oh, what was the last thing you heard? Did you hear the
knife was swabbed.
Yeah. Hitler said, did you just say the knife was swabbed?
Yeah. Then Hitler says, did you just say the knife was swabbed? And then the witness says, sorry, I meant the knife sheath. Can I read it again? Basically, like can I read it again? And that would be page 78 into page 79 in the transcript, where she clearly says the knife was swabbed. And again, it could be another coincidence, but how many are we going to have in this case?
So where's the bit about the blood on the sheath, Willie?
That would be, let me see if I have the verbiage here. I don't know if I have the page number, but I can read you the verbiage real quick. It says, question. I know now I'm going to have to switch back and forth because I'm on a phone. I'm going to try my best here. So basically the question is, and I know you don't recall exactly where the knife sheath was swabbed, but we've been talking about policies. Do your policies or best practices suggest where the knife sheath or an item like that should have been swabbed for DNA? And then this was the answer. No, it would be impossible for our analytic methods to cover how to swab or where to swab every single item of evidence. We receive quite a wide variety of items into the laboratory. So it's the analysis job as a scientist, as a practitioner in forensic biology screening and DNA analysis to know what they're targeting. So on this item, I believe there was also blood. So they would have been targeting that separate and then also trying to determine who may have handled that. So they would have specifically honed in on an area that whoever handled it would have had to have touched and maybe touched repeatedly. So basically, she's saying, Anne's asking her about the knife sheath, and then she states right there, so on this item, I believe there was also blood. And then it kind of goes more into it, but I only have a shot of that specific page right here. I'd have to go into the archives and pull it up.
And I've read that, and that is where she then says, she asks her to specify which part of the snap was swabbed. And
Mhm.
I think very cleverly, because this again showed that this woman was lying, because she said that it was the outside of the snap button, and then actually found her out on a lie. It wasn't the outside of the snap at all. It was underneath on the brass. And there were two different stories about that as well.
Yeah. Somebody said page 76. Are you on a computer?
Yeah,
I am.
the first
Yes.
time blood on the sheath is discussed is when Jeff Nye brings it up on page 76. So they never discuss blood on sheath during Payne's testimony. They do during Payne's testimony talk about unknown male B's blood. That's on page 18. But nothing about the sheath during Payne's. They also talk about during Payne's testimony unknown male D on page 19.
There's a lot of good stuff in that transcript.
Someone said, I read a lot of comments on, I think they're really important when you're looking at people's videos, what people are thinking. And someone said, oh, well, you know, Maddie was in a bar. She's bound to have male DNA under her fingernails. I'm like, well, yeah, if she was running her hands through hair or scrap, you don't pick up a glass or go through your
Well, here's the
wallet.
thing, though. I don't care whose DNA is anywhere. All I care about is if Brian's is, and if it's not,
Yeah.
all right. You know, I'm not here to try to solve who did this other than him. I'm here to figure out if the state's going to frame this guy or not when they have all these other samples that they just ignored. Whatever. And then Payne's excuse is, well, we already had Brian's name. I don't give a shit if you had 1,000 other names.
Well,
Do your
all that
job.
is you've got a blinkered investigation.
You know? These parents deserve true justice, not just who you decide that, you know, you're going to put up. Jerk off. Sorry, it just pisses me off.
I know, and me too. And it puzzles me. I cannot watch anything. I can't watch it with Steve Gonzalez talking. I can't do it.
He was doing damage control with his last interview. It's like, oh yeah, they fooled around all the time and play pranks on each other. Okay, dude.
Laying it on thick.
Why
Yeah.
does he want real justice? I'm really puzzled with that. Why does he not want the real truth? Because I tell you what, if I was a parent,
I know why, but you don't want me to say it.
I would say it. It's one of those.
The reason why I think he doesn't, he's doing all this damage control is because he knows that his daughter was involved in a confrontation that was with somebody else inside the home. That's why. But
Okay.
who am I?
He's covering something up. He's
Yeah.
hiding something.
Because who's the only person that Dylan's texting other than Bethany in those texts? Kaylee. So she's obviously hearing Kaylee and somebody going at it.
Yeah.
You know, and what other motive do you have to get on these big networks? Even after seeing your face on a damn PowerPoint that possibly got the whole trial moved, you're still going on the news and saying stuff, even with your attorney, who, in my opinion, isn't a good attorney. If he's letting you go on the news stations and say this and say that, and then they go on their Facebook and they tell us all that this and this is going to be granted, and then boom, it comes out to the public like an hour or two later, and then they wonder why the state's not telling them any information. Come on, think about it. Like, you guys are questioning jurors, potential jurors. You're putting out information on your social media. You're going on the news. To me, that you're a liability. But the question is why? If you truly believe Brian's a guy and the prosecution can prove it, then you have no reason to do all this, right?
Absolutely.
So they obviously aren't too confident. But to me, it's going above and beyond when, I don't know. I don't see all the other families doing anywhere near what they're doing. So that's all.
There's something there.
That's my opinion.
I agree completely. There's something there that he needs to bury.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I think this, like I said from the beginning, I think this originated from inside the home. And that's why, if we're going to believe these texts, that's why these two were, I mean, she's in her room saying she's terrified. So if you're in your room, not visually seeing anything and you're terrified, what else could it be? It means you're hearing shit, right?
Yeah.
So both of them hear all this going on, all this commotion, all this yelling, and they're texting, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" They're trying to call everybody. And all of a sudden, at one point in all that commotion, it all goes silent. And then everybody's not answering anything anymore. Not even, there's nothing. And you don't go out, you don't yell out, "Hey, is everybody all right?" Nothing, because something just terrified you that you heard.
Why isn't he asking the difficult questions, such as how come the state isn't turning over all this evidence, like the Red Star Coffee video or the Mundy's Machine video? We have fingernail scrapings that are exculpatory to the defendant. What's going on with that? There's DNA, there's blood in the house that was never tested. How
Why?
come?
I'm not
Exactly.
sure where that glove is.
Who were they protecting and why?
Yeah.
You know?
I imagine the handrail went down with the house. I bet they haven't got any of the other DNA available.
Here's a question. Do you think the original 3D scan exists anymore?
Probably not.
Because let's imagine us cutting ourselves, in our hand or whatever really bad. And as you're going down the handrail, that would that amount of blood would be detectable on a 3D scan.
Yeah.
The blood is thick and it stands up proud. It will leave a trail and harden, and the 3D scan will know it. It'll show it. So
well, here's my question: who went down the steps? If Bethany's down there in her room, right, chilling, who went down the steps and didn't do anything to Bethany, and then went back up? Because we're told that the person didn't leave out the first story door. So who the hell went down the steps and back up?
Well, the
And
thing
why?
is, we don't know where they exited the house, because in the latest documents,
I'm just
Dylan,
going by what they're going to present, what they're saying.
yeah, but they've got documented evidence that Dylan said two things. The perpetrator stood and stared at her. No mention of him walking towards her. Another statement, he walked towards her, which is what's in the PCA, towards the slider. And in another document, it says that Dylan isn't sure that he exited via the slider. So he could well have exited via the front door. And I tell you what I find really interesting about the text is
But then wouldn't she hear him go down the steps? Wouldn't she know that? Because at this point, she's hyper aware, apparently, in her text. So wouldn't she hear him go down the steps? And wouldn't Bethany hear that person come down the steps? I mean, listen, it would make sense if they left out that door, because there's blood on the damn handrail. Unless this person went down the steps and said, "Oh, hey, Bethany," and then went back up the steps without harming her. I mean, what the hell? I don't know.
But if the perpetrator, so say she saw the intruder, intruder left via the front door, then she decides to go down the stairs. I mean, she says, "I'm not sure that they exited via the slider."
Heather, that's a good point. That's what I was thinking. Because if Dylan went down the steps, right, and what if she had something on her?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing ideas out there.
But before now, there was no connection between the second and first floor, and now there is.
Now there is.
There's blood on the hand.
And Bethany heard it all. She's literally saying she's frightened. Why else are you frightened if you're not hearing stuff? You're on the first floor. Nothing's happening on your floor. You're hearing everything happen above your head. You have somebody on the second floor that's also terrified texting you, and you're both are like, "What the hell's going on?" Yada, yada, yada. Which brings me to my next point, right? If this was Brian and Brian had to be on that camera at 4:20, and I'm giving him 4:18 to be out that door and in his car and out of there, why at 4:22 and some change are they basically seeming like shit's still going down? So if stuff's still going down in the house, how is Brian gone minutes prior?
And how does Dylan state?
Explain that one.
Yeah. Also, how does Dylan state in another statement she sees the intruder around 4 a.m. And DoorDash arrives around 4 a.m. and she hears playing with Murphy at around 4 a.m. And when they talk to 911, they're keen to say that at 4 a.m. it's like, okay, so if she saw the intruder around 4 a.m. and she heard sounds of Kaylee playing with her dog, she thought at 4 a.m. But also, let's not forget, her and Bethany stated all were in their rooms by 4 a.m. But also Dylan woke up at around 4 a.m.
No, obviously not, because she's calling somebody at 2:50, isn't she?
Absolutely. And also, how can you see the intruder around 4 a.m., hear Kaylee playing with the dog at around 4 a.m., the DoorDash arrives around 4 a.m.?
Xana's texting at 4:30, or she's commenting Queen at 4:13.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she's still alive at 4:13, supposedly.
So this suspect vehicle 1 is not even parked by 4 a.m.
What suspect vehicle? I'm not. Listen, they don't have any vehicle, in my opinion, until I have a number.
According to the PCA.
It seems like everybody has a white car in that neighborhood.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know?
Law enforcement did not use the 1112 camera to identify the car. So,
imagine that.
Yeah, that is not his car in the neighborhood. And his car was never stationary. It was always moving, and it was never near the home. That is in the record.
What a fucking ruse, man! This is such this makes me sick to my stomach that we have something called a justice system. It shouldn't be called a justice system. Call it something else. This is not justice. This is something different. And you're gonna shoot him too.
Oh my God. I don't know. When Richard Allen was found guilty, I cried. I really cried.
That's what I mean. And like I said, like I knew this dude, and like his mom was my teacher. Like this is screwed up. Like I'm scared to like go places some certain nights, because what if I go touch something and then somebody touches where I touch and they commit a crime? I see that it could literally rip you out of society, ruin your whole life, and paint you as this killer to the whole world, not just your country, the whole world. You know, it screws with my psyche a little bit.
All they care about is money, power, statistics.
You know, I wish I never knew him. And to be honest with you, at this point, because his life's already ruined, I wish they did have the evidence. So at least I could say, all right, you know, at least they're, you know, he did it, and they have the evidence, and like, you know, the right thing is happening. No, of course not. I have to know the guy that they're fucking flat out framing. Just my luck. You know, and now whether he's found guilty or innocent doesn't matter. When he gets out, everybody's going to want his head regardless. It's not going to be like Casey Anthony, who's just prancing around doing whatever she wants every day. It ain't going to be like that.
No.
You know? So
I agree.
It pisses me off, man. All they had to do was investigate. Instead of working backwards, arresting and then investigate. No, investigate and then arrest. You had freaking 3 blood DNA samples, potentially. Yeah, and you're telling me that one of the blood matches a cigarette outside. Jesus.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Yeah, and I don't think any of us would question if they arrested any of those profiles. Even just having the blood in the house would be like, all right. I mean, if people are being, all right, they have his touch DNA, I think people would be like, off the wall if they had somebody arrested whose blood was in the house, right? Any name.
So wait.
Yeah, that's one of the 4 brothers, I believe.
Yeah.
And let me double check.
So the blood in the in the house matches the blood matches the DNA on the cigarette.
That's what
Yes.
Eddie said.
Page 62.
Jesus, I did
Now you
not.
got the receipts right there, so I believe him.
Oh my God. I did
See what I'm
not.
saying? Like so much has come out, Nelly, that it makes this so much worse. You're just like, no, what the hell?
What do you make of Hitler?
I mean, at least listen. Everybody can say whatever they want about the guy. At least he let us see all this, because this could all be sealed. To be honest with you, we could be talking about the same damn thing we've been talking about for 3 years, but at least we're talking about something different. You know, that's what I have to say about Hitler.
Yeah, he's. I'm confused with Hitler. Initially I thought great, then I thought, oh God, and now I'm kind of thinking, I knew he'd deny the Franks motion.
Check this transcript, fire.
But then he denies the Franks hearing and then allows this. So maybe he's thinking.
Well, a man's conscience can only take so much, you know. That's why Judge said, you know what, I'm retiring. I'm going up to the mountains because, like, I can't let this be my last, you know, case I preside over, knowing this guy didn't do it.
I'm afraid Judge Hitler is trying to bank up some credits so that he fools people into thinking, that he's not corrupted before he starts rolling up the demerits.
Well, that's what I mean. His next couple moves are going to tell me what, if this is all just an episode he had, or if he's actually like seeing what any freaking person with common sense could see is going, what the state's doing.
I'm going to go here, but you can't do what they're doing unless you take it the distance. And in order to do that, you're going to need the judge and the jury corrupted as well.
Yeah. I mean, but at least, but to my opinion, Beverly is corrupt as shit, and Karen at least got a hung jury. So hopefully, he has a shot at a hung jury, maybe not completely innocent, but again, I just don't know what evidence you provide during trial. Even if the prosecution get all the evidence they have in right now and nothing gets suppressed, what are you presenting? What are you getting up and literally presenting? If Payne's route's not true, if 99% of that PCA is false, what are they presenting to these 12 people if they're not corrupted?
The only thing I will say is
anything?
Andrew Burkhart, someone asked her, why is he still in jail when there's no evidence? And she said, it doesn't matter that there's no evidence. At this stage, it has got to go to trial to prove that.
Yes.
In Idaho.
Yeah.
So, at this point, we are sitting here amongst ourselves saying, well, they've got nothing. They're not ever going to throw it out because it has got to go to trial. It's got to be. And
I understand it. I'm not saying it's not. I understand it's going to trial. I'm just saying if we role played right now and you guys were the defense and I was the prosecution, and I would try my hardest right now because that's how I roll, and I tried to put on some kind of case, I wouldn't know where to go after touch DNA. I wouldn't know how to prove to, say everybody in the chat is the jury. I wouldn't know how to prove to the jury that, there's a connection, there's this motive, because none of that exists. There's this weapon, there is no weapon. I have this witness. Well, my witness is shot. So okay, say a trial is happening right now. What is the prosecution presenting other than this transfer DNA they found whatever grams of on the button of a sheath that they found in the home? Now, aside from that, now you're going to prove, how he did this, what they found, how he got there, proof of how he got there. Where's any of that stuff coming from? So my question is, how does a trial happen with no evidence?
Well, they're going to do their best to ensure that the defense cannot present any of their evidence. Number
Absolutely.
one.
So it's going to be like the Karen retrial where they basically try to do like get ahead of the game before the defense presents their alternative suspect and all that.
Yep. Same
Yeah.
as Delphi. Basically, the prosecution already have filed. They want this out, this out, this out, and this out. Exactly the same happened in Delphi. The judge granted all of it. Richard Allen never had a second's worth of a fair trial. And he got 130 years because he was not allowed a fair trial. And
Yeah, he wasn't allowed to put on a defense, for Christ's sakes.
absolutely, and
that's what the prosecution is basically doing now. They don't want Brian to be able to use any kind of experts. They don't want him to be able to prove his alibi. They want him to get on a stand and literally tell them what he did that night. Like, get the hell out of here.
And what does that tell the public that does have common sense? Is that the prosecution don't have a case?
It tells me we don't have a justice system. That's what it shows me. I don't know what it shows everybody else, but I mean, everybody lives in this bubble where this can't happen to them, and I don't get why.
Yeah.
This is worse. Sorry, go ahead, Eddie.
You guys know the motion in limine that the state has that scares me? It is.
Either.
It is the.
Oh no, I was nothing.
It's called the self-authentication of records, which, if I was to paraphrase the best I could here, because I don't have it in front of me, like whatever the state's presenting in the way of evidence is because it's by the state. It is it's not corrupted. It's authentic. It wasn't fabricated or tampered with. It's wholesome and true. They can't be questioned. I guess that's the best I can do to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that tells me that a lot of this evidence is falsified.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it could be. Timestamps on photograph. I don't know. One can only imagine what they would
even
do,
if they had
evidence that was.
That's what I mean. Even if I had even if he role played right now and I had evidence that was bullshit that I could provide, I wouldn't be able to because Payne already admitted that his route was wrong. There, I mean, she's already getting them to basically admit that everything that they presented to the grand jury was false. So I just don't know what they're left with once game time comes and they have to put on a case. I'm just trying to imagine in my head. I just don't even know where they go. At least in the Karen Reed trial, they had shit to fabricate and stuff to build something. I don't even know where they're going to go.
They're putting forward PowerPoints as evidence.
I mean, they're going to show them this Minecraft looking picture that they made or of the house. That thing looks terrible. Pixelated freaking house. Be like, okay, he was here, he went in here, he did it here, and then he ran out this way. Okay, great.
Sterilized. Yeah, they're sterilizing the inside of that scene because if people knew what it really looked like in there, they would know that
they weren't all in two rooms.
The narrative wouldn't be able to stand.
Oh hell no! Well, remember we were first told everybody was sleeping, Eddie.
Yeah.
Nestled in their bed on a quiet Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't believe. The only person that may have been sleeping is Ethan, in my opinion. I think everyone.
Evan, Victoria, sorry.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they were all awake from the minute they got home till this happened. I don't believe anyone went to sleep.
Another lie that we've learned recently
maybe
is that
Ethan.
the phone ping in Nevada Street was not 2:47. It was really 2:54, like 7 minutes difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Victoria, I have not seen anything new with Karen Reed. I know there's a lot of shit going on right now, but ever since this stuff came out in Idaho, I'm more just. You have to read something like 4 or 5 times before, some of these documents before you understand it because of some of the verbiage and stuff they redact. You kind of have to put pieces together here, and that's why it's like you said, Eddie. It's hard to argue with these guilters, especially on Facebook, because 90% of these people on Facebook in these groups, they never read a lick of documents, and they just argue with what they hear on MSM. And as soon as you ask them a question that has to do with like, a page or a document number or something, they have no idea where to go. They just disappear.
Yeah, it's maddening.
They're like Houdini. They're just gone. And then you're sitting there talking to yourself like, oh, okay, I guess we're not going to have the conversation. So nobody wants to nobody really cares. They just want to, I don't know. I don't know if it's like it can't be a pride thing. What is that? That everybody needs to just be like, yeah, he's guilty. It's him. It's sick. Like without knowing what's going on. Is that how just crime has always been?
Or they do know what's going on and they try to inflate the backing, the power behind that movement, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like these bots answer up in, the comments, just to make it seem like, because who wants to stand alone? Like if you're going this way and the rest of the entire crowd is going that way.
Oh, I love that.
Too, with you.
Yeah.
Then you don't dare step and go the other direction. No one wants to be a loner because that's dangerous when you stand alone. So maybe it's just to troll and to try to make it seem larger than it truly is. And
to me it's just crazy that thousands and thousands of people are just on board with murdering a guy without having anything to show that he did it. It's just wild to me.
Well, we know one thing. Guilty people do not require this level of illusion of guilt. Only innocent ones do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's because most cases I see, I'm like, all right, that person did it. But there's something, with the only ones I said when I first, learned about true crime and shit because of this case was I always said from the beginning, Richard Allen, Brian Koberger, and Karen Reed are innocent in my mind. Yeah. Those were the three, and ever since then, all these cases have come. Even that whole Kansas City thing, I said that dude is guilty as shit. That dude was arrested a couple of days ago with another guy for, the death of those three guys that were found out in the yard that everybody said just died at the same time. Something must have happened that this dude was in his house for 2 days and came out drinking wine. Well, he was arrested. So those three cases always bothered me. These three cases bothered me. But like the rest of them, there's always something. They find, I don't know, a weapon. They find the body. They find this, that. With this case, everything that comes out, it's a massive amounts of documents, but nothing implicates Brian. It's all either going in the way of the defense or making us more confused on how the hell we got here. It's nothing to just because if something came out and they were like, all right, we did the testing under the nails and it's Brian's DNA, I'd be like, all right, it's Brian, we're done. I'd be on board. But I haven't seen any of that. I'd be the first one to say, all right, fry his ass.
Well, this is it. The guilt is kind of, it's been thrown at me, the pro-burgers. It's like they think
all of us here have experienced it.
Yeah, they just think that we are into proving anyone innocent or believing anyone is innocent. And I'm like, no, there's many people like Gilgo.
I hate people that say that though. They're like, oh, you want to marry Brian, this, that. They probably say it to you. It's like, no, can you not understand that? Like, take gender and all that shit out of it. Just at a human level. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Just on a human aspect of it. They want to kill a human being that say that that person killed 4 other human beings and they have no evidence to show that. That's the problem.
I look at other cases and I'm like, oh my God, because you get the prosecution and law enforcement putting to the public, they're completely open about it from the start, like Gilgo Beach, like the Chad Daybell case. I'm watching those thinking, oh, Jesus, before trial. Yeah. These guys have got to be guilty. And in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, but we got to see
who's that crazy chick with the suitcase?
Oh, yeah, Sarah Boone.
Yeah, we got to see her Snapchat video before trial happened, right?
Yeah.
But here we don't get. I mean, yeah, we have the 911 call, but it's all on paper. We don't have any audio of 911 call. We have no body cam footage. We have no nothing. With all these other cases, all this other shit leaks out, and we get to see it. Why?
Yeah, exactly that. It's like I'm not one of these people that thinks everyone's innocent. We on this channel and others look at the lack of evidence and smell the rats. And I'm never, if this amazing piece of evidence comes out that Brian Koberger he ends up being guilty, I will never be ashamed of questioning what was put in front of me, ever.
Yeah.
You know what? If he was guilty, you should have done a better job persuading me, because actually I saw a shit show. So, if it comes out that I'll see something, go, okay, all right, maybe now I'm going to
Exactly, Heather.
I will change my tune.
Yeah, exactly. Just show me, just like Sai. Sai said he's open to be, he's open to being wrong. I'm open for, Brian to still be the guy. But if you're not going to come out with evidence to show that Brian did this and you have him locked up for 3 years, I'm going to have a problem with that. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because if that was my brother, if that was my dad, if that was my son, if it was me, I mean, Jesus, your whole life's stripped away from you in a blink of an eye because of a misunderstanding, or because they just don't want it to be somebody else that has ties to Ali. I don't know. Again, there has to be some kind of motive onto why they didn't look into these other people, or maybe they did and they saw a name and they were like, whoa, we don't want to go any further. Who knows? But there has to be a reason why.
I think part of the reason was at the beginning. I think they knew they had a house that was oozing DNA, and they did not know where to start. They did not even know how to begin.
Why?
Because it was a party house. And
but when you go to a crime scene, there's not a party going on. You walk into a crime scene and there's bodies here, 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 and here. Okay, so if you know that there's one in the hallway, there's one over here, there's one over here, I want to know how they come to the conclusion to come out and say they were all sleeping. And then, this is a whole bunch of stuff that we know now is not true. So I don't care what kind of house they knew it was. It's the fact of there was a crime scene. Do your damn jobs correctly, and we wouldn't have a problem. Investigate correctly and arrest the right person.
I don't think they could investigate correctly. I just don't believe for a start that Mabutt even went to the scene. I mean, you look back at Mabutt's interview, it's so embarrassing.
Oh, I know.
When she's asked to describe the scene, she just kind of fumbles around and says, it was a very sad scene. There was a lot of blood. That's all she came out with.
But what's crazy is the fact that she even had an interview like that. Like, what other case have you seen recently where something like that happened, where they get up on a stand like that and just take questions?
Yeah. Oh, it was embarrassing. It really was. And I just came away thinking, you weren't there. I don't believe she was ever there.
She had to make it seem like she was, didn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, guys, I'm going to have to go. It's 1:30 in the morning in the UK.
Yeah, that's right. It's late there.
I'm not as diehard as Dinky, I'm afraid. He can, I'm going to say, he can go for hours, but that I could be misquoted for that.
Yeah, he hasn't been live for a little while.
I know his dad.
Yeah, that's he's taking some time.
Thank you, Nellie, for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So much.
It's a good conversation.
So great talking to you guys. Thank you for coming up. And
really, it was really fun.
This is how you learn stuff. You know what I mean? Bouncing ideas off each other, and maybe something clicks here and there. I mean, that's to me, it's productive.
Yeah, I knew after all this stuff, I was commenting away on people's channels because I was. And then I thought, no, it's just get up there and say what you want to say.
Yeah, screw it.
Use your channel for God's sake, rather than flooding people's comment sections. So it's really great to touch base with you guys. And
you guys have a good weekend then.
Yeah, you have a great weekend, guys, and thank you so much for joining me, everyone.
Yeah, everyone take care.
Let's say hi to the
See you, Eddie.
play.
Goodbye, Willie. See you next time.
See you, Nelly. See you guys.
Good night, everyone, and thank you
See
so
you,
much.
chat.
And yeah, I'll see you guys soon, definitely. Thank you, Eddie, again. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And let's see what comes up next. Who knows? Take care, guys. Have a great weekend.